eggs. See your head to your head.
Stick from the end of
Don't push it too far.
Welcome to, I don't know what episode this is, and I thought today that we would spend some time telling you about our journey to get here and really how the farm has developed over the last few years. I think it's a good time to tell that story because we're about to embark on this major program of work through our crowdfunder. Now, we've mentioned it in every video since it launched, and I'm going to mention it again. We are currently running a crowdfunder to improve the accessibility of the farm and really improve the facilities here so we can welcome more visitors. The crowdfunder runs until the 2nd of April, and we are very close to our goal, but we do still need your help to get us over that target. So I will link to the crowdfunder website in the comments below. Yeah, any like or share or support you could give us would be really, really appreciated.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much.
So Kevin, how did we meet?
So Kat and I met in 1996.
We were babies.
Yeah, so I went to Iowa as a camp counselor on an exchange program.
I'm originally from Iowa, not too far from where that camp was. So the first few years, well, the first year we didn't really get along very well.
Well, I think we got on okay.
Yeah, I remember it differently. But this next year, he and I got along really well, so in 1997, and have basically been together on and off ever since.
Yeah. And after university, or after you finished university, 18 years ago, Kat came over to the UK to come and visit me, and we decided to keep living together. So she went back and graduated, and then moved back to the UK, and that was the year of 2001. We lived in London for a while. Kat was desperately unhappy there. We moved around. I ended up with a career in the arts. Kat ended up with a career in public health. And then we moved around a few times trying to find somewhere that we could put our roots down. Me being a South African and Kat being an Iowan.
As we were doing all of this moving around, I began to really develop an interest in environmental issues. Now, I'd always had an interest. My interest in public health has always been around health inequalities and how where people live really affects their health and, you know, the kind of food they have access to. In particular, I worked a lot with refugees and working with a benefit system where you know, food inequality became a huge pressing issue with people living well below the poverty line, but the food they were used to being quite expensive many times in grocery stores. So as part of that, and as part of, I started doing a program called The Artist's Way, which I didn't love all of it, but one of the exercises in it was you're supposed to draw your ideal life. And these two things really came together, and I drew an ideal life that was a little cottage with a big garden and chickens and a dog. And this was like this goal that I held on to for many years. And then as sort of making a conscious step towards that goal, although seeing it very much as something far in the future, I enrolled in a master's program called the Center for Human Ecology. And really that was about how where you live, how humans really interact with the environment and the way the environment interacts with us. And my particular interest was food and agriculture. So I moved up to study at Strathclyde University in Glasgow, and Kevin followed 6 months later.
It was a difficult 6 months.
It was very difficult 6 months. And we lived in a teeny tiny village just on the outside of Stirling, where we lived for a long time and really loved it. But I got pregnant. Georgia was only 12 weeks old, and we lived in a teeny tiny house, and we needed to move. So we moved out to a small town called Alloa.
And we were stuck at this time in a beautiful semi-detached Victorian house in the middle of town, basically.
Yeah, and I realized at the time, and when we were there, I thought we moved into this house thinking it was great because it's quite a small town, and it's beautiful parklands, nearby, but it was the first time in my life, really, that I'd lived somewhere that I couldn't just walk out to the countryside, because even when we lived in London, we lived near the biggest parks, Richmond Park and Wimbledon Common. We made an intentional decision that we were going to move out more rurally.
In the middle of February.
Well, it was Christmas.
It was Christmas,
It was Christmas time. And we looked at a couple of houses.
And one was probably just a bit too far for us to go, in the mountains, very beautiful. And then there was this place.
Which was at the top, if not more than our budget. And I said to Kevin, as we pulled into the driveway, which is obviously 1.5 miles long, we have to love it. There can be no second thoughts, there can be no hesitations from either of us. Now, to kind of back up, Kevin is a pure city boy. Grew up in Durban, South Africa, has lived in cities most of his life. So I was asking a lot of him to come with me on this adventure.
Yeah, so we turned up and it was just beautiful. I mean, the view would win anybody. And there was just so much space, we didn't even know what we were going to do with it. But we knew we were going to do something, and we knew we were going to get chickens, and we were going to try to live this other kind of life.
At the time that we moved here, I was working full-time in the crochet industry, and I'd wanted to run workshops from the barn, or from the studio, that didn't work as well the first few years. I think partially because I didn't really know how to advertise it, but it was a lot of things coming together, which meant that the workshops didn't really work, and we just had all of this extra space. Living here was costing us a lot more than we could justify. So we really had to think about what we were gonna do.
And it was either Kat getting a part-time job, or we turned this place into money.
Yeah, which we have not done.
Which we have not done.
Let's not be under any illusion.
But we do have to make it pay for itself.
So we decided to get goats. So we started making our own cheese and using goat's milk as our primary milk, and began fermenting. We'd made sourdough on and off, so our bread story is much longer. We've been making bread for ourselves for a long time. All of these tributaries were coming together where we needed to do something else with what we had. And so with some consult from some friends, we started running workshops. So we were running sourdough and fermentation workshops, which have only been running for about 18 months. We've also added sheep to our flock.
What do you say to a sheep that hits you?
I don't know. What do you say to a sheep that hits you?
Back off!
Ha ha ha. And obviously a cow, a pig, and a lot of chickens and ducks.
I think it's fair to say as well, each business venture that you've had to sort of run one into the other.
Yeah, they're all very interconnected. So my passion is really, how can you make things, and make things intentionally and in a way that serves you, that nourishes you both, creatively and practically, and the incredible power there is in doing things for yourself and making things yourself with your two hands. And I really have always explored that in many ways, and the farm is kind of the pinnacle. Maybe not the pinnacle is the right word, but the sort of collection of that, because we are able to grow our own food and make our own cheese and grow our own meat and be very independent, but also very connected to
And that's the second part. It's not just making, it's also showing other people that they can do it themselves. And it's not about showing off, it's about making things as easy and as accessible and interesting as possible.
Yeah, so I think that it comes back to one of the things we said in our crowdfunder video, is that we talk about it as being regenerative farming by stealth, but also I think it's more than that. I think it's a revolution, you know, one loaf of bread at a time. And I really do believe that. So for us being able to open up the farm to people has been a real natural, you know.
That's Captain Fantastic.
Yeah, he wants you to know he's very fantastic. And now for a public service announcement.
Hello, and we are the goat safety strategy provider. And right now over there we got some goats, and our strategy is if you ever see a goat charging at you, just stop and drop and stay still, because then they just think you're nothing. Example. He doesn't know what to do. He's like he doesn't see you. Don't be like this. If you want the goat to actually run away, stop and drop.
He doesn't know what to do.
So if you come across a goat in the road, stop and drop.
This has been a public service announcement.
I mean, I was just did a meet the goat this weekend. It was fantastic, and excuse us. There was 4 sets of couples, and everyone wanted to talk about food and making food and fermentation, the microbiome, how to sustain yourself, how you might think about living more simply and being in more control of what you eat. And you know, it's a conversation people want to have, because it's a way you can make simple decisions that can improve your health, how you feel. You can support your local economy, and you can make a difference to the environment. And you know, gosh, we've got a lot to sort out with our environment.
Yeah. So we do not grow produce to sell. I can't remember if I've said this on the vlog before, but we don't grow produce to sell directly. We recognized very early on that was never going to be a good approach for us, because
we don't have the land.
We don't have the land. We don't have the skills. You know, we recognized that just wasn't going to be something that we could do with what we've got. But what we can do, and what our strength is, are being hosts. We're really good at that. And so growing to meet the sort of catering needs of people who come here, growing our own food, raising our own animals to teach people how to do it themselves, that's really our strength. And that's how we can, you know, in many ways sell what we produce. It's selling the experience of the growing as opposed to
the growing itself.
The growth.
The product.
So, but equally it's also about laughing and, you know, enjoying it and, you know.
Enjoying good food. I mean, there's nothing better than home-cooked, really nice food.
Yeah.
Milkadoo.
So yeah, that's our sort of story. And, you know, the next chapter for Gartur is, I think, our expansion with, it's not even expansion. I almost think of it as like a deepening.
I think deepening is a better word.
Yeah.
And a kind of opening up of what we can do.
So doing more of the workshops, more goat visits, more of that, because that's really where we've discovered our passion. And, you know, the work that we hope to put in place in the next few months will really enable us to do that. But it's so funny to think about how it all comes back to that little drawing.
I think that's loads from us for this week.
Yeah, I think that's probably, I'm gonna have to edit this way down.
Yeah, it's too much.